Hello and welcome to this episode of Community Connections, airing right here on OROMIA11. I am your host, Anna Orr, and today we are talking all things tenants' rights, advocacy, education, and some special information for the supervising attorney at Homeline, Minnesota. This is going to be an episode you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining me today, Alma, on this episode of Community Connections. Can you please introduce Homeline, Minnesota and the work you guys do here?
Absolutely. We are the tenants hotline for tenants in Minnesota, a nonprofit law firm that offers free legal advice, and we cover the whole state without any restrictions in terms of income or location. As long as you're a tenant, you can call us and we can offer you free legal advice.
Now, what are some of the questions that you're hearing from the public when they're reaching out to you guys on this hotline?
So the most common question is about evictions. And part of it is because we do keep track of evictions that are filed in the state, and we sent the letter to tenants letting them know that an eviction has been filed. We also get a lot of calls about repairs, both emergency repairs and non-emergency repairs, and how to handle that process. How to get the landlord to the repairs, and then how to file in court if the repairs are not done.
Now, this is a program that is offered through the City of Minneapolis and Hennepin County, correct?
So they are part of our funding, but we really cover the whole state. And the metro area tends to be our sweet spot because it's where most rentals are. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it started as Hennepin County, not including Minneapolis, and now it's just covering the whole state, which is fantastic.
How long has Homeline Minnesota been doing this work?
I believe it's 31 or 32 years. We just celebrated a big milestone when it comes to that. It was like our huge birthday. So yeah, we've been around for a really long time.
Now talk to me about some of the services outside of advocacy or legal advice you guys offer to tenants.
So we do have a legislative department that helps create new legislation that benefits tenants or clarifies legislation. And we also have organizers. They basically go to buildings, talk to people, and teach them how to enforce the law, like their rights and responsibilities. And we also partner with some cities to help with some of the programs they've been running. For example, we just finished one with Bloomington. That was a fantastic program. And we had an organizer there just constantly every week working with tenants.
Now, we've talked a little bit about some of the services you guys offer. I just want to talk a little bit more specifically about the legal aspect of things. Mm-hmm. You are the lead attorney for the Homeline organization, and you guys are providing free legal advice for people. Now, this seems like almost like a dream to hear somebody say, I'm a lawyer and I'm going to talk to you about your rights for free, but it's true. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to me about some of the ways you guys walk tenants through services or through forms or dealing with issues? Because I know, like many others, if you haven't had an issue where you need to deal with any type of legal anything around housing, you don't know what your rights mm-hmm. are, especially I think if you are renting, your landlord may not let you know all of the advantages you may be allowed.
So the Attorney General has a manual, and this is, I want all tenants to look it up on the Attorney General's website. It's a handbook for landlords and tenants, and that's a really good summary of the law. Now, the law has changed effective January 1st, 2024, biggest changes to the law since the 1970s. And we have a great summary of what those changes are. Now, in terms of tenants and how they interact with us, they call us and tell us what their issue is. They can also send us an email through the email and attorney feature that we have on our website. And if you send an email, I always ask people to attach their lease and any documents they want us to review. So basically when they call us or send us an email, they tell us what their issue is. We figure out how it applies to the law. That's the lawyerly part, where you look at what the facts are and then what the issue is, and you offer the solution. And then we walk people through the process of how to usually get to court, how to talk to the landlord so that it's not a contentious relationship. And if there's an eviction that's being filed, for those who don't qualify for legal aid or the services of other organizations that offer free legal representation, then we set up with them what their defense is going to be and what steps they need to take to either prevent an eviction or set up a payment plan if possible.
I know that's really important for people that were trying to navigate financial hardship coming out of COVID-19. And for a lot of us that still are navigating financial hardship because of the society we live in and things being so high with inflation being what it is right now. It'd be nice to have a grapple as to what to expect for your finances without the worry that you may be evicted. And if you're anyone like us right now in Minnesota, with snow outside in March.
Yes. I actually do want to say, because it was super exciting with the changes to the law, now landlords have to send tenants a 14-day letter stating, hey, this is what you owe, you have 14 days to pay, or we might file for eviction, and these are the organizations you can call for assistance. This is critical because before, people would have to apply for emergency assistance after the eviction had been filed, and now that letter, they can just take it to emergency assistance or the YMCA, Lutheran Social Services, Catholic Charities, and they can secure the assistance if they qualify for it. And again, these are new changes to the law that we've achieved through our legislative work along with partner organizations, and it's really good for tenants. Educating tenants is part of what we do.
And how do you do that? What are some of the programs and some of the ways that you guys reach tenants with this type of information? So
we have the organizers in the community. We also get called in, again, in our website. There's a little feature that says trainings. And so we have webinars available to the community. Some are paid, some are free. And then I'm one of the people who goes out into the community and does presentations. We go to schools, we go to cities, and the organization that is asking us to do the presentation is the one who secures the people to show up. And there's a lot of one-on-one. I've worked with Inquilinos Unidos, and it's great because it's a small setting and I can answer questions right then and there. The schools are also one of my favorite things because these are kids that are going to start signing leases.
That's true.
And I want to make sure that they know what they're signing. And are aware of the law. I mean, I think education is key in Minnesota for tenants. The law is really written so that the lay person, a regular tenant, can understand it. But I know it's scary. People think it's legal. I don't know anything about this. I need an attorney. And really, landlord-tenant law is pretty straightforward. But if you have that fear, we can help walk you through the process.
Not too long ago, we had Attorney General Ellison here with us, and he was talking about the work of his office and how they are handling tenants' rights and so many other things. And I think it was an eye-opener for viewers. I know it was for me personally to hear that they were helping people navigate that work and that they were able to take on a lot of slumlords in our area and make them do some repairs, but also return some money to people that were paying but weren't having safe or adequate shelter.
Yeah, there is a lawsuit that was just settled, I believe, by the Attorney General's office. And I think people are also afraid to notify the Attorney General when there are issues with their landlord because they're like, oh, they don't do anything. They just send a letter, nothing ever happens. But the thing is, the Attorney General needs to see volume, right? When you have an issue with your landlord, follow the steps to get the repairs done if that's the issue, and file that complaint, because when the Attorney General sees complaints building up over a certain landlord or a certain building, they take action. Same with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. If you have been discriminated against, they file that complaint with them because they do investigate. And they can do things to stop the problem, not just for the individual tenant, but for a whole group, which is what just happened with this lawsuit that the Attorney General settled.
I think that's amazing to hear, and thank you for speaking on that, because I think it gives tenants, but it also gives people that are interested in not only reaching out to you guys, but getting some help. It gives them hope to see that something is happening and someone is paying attention and is willing to stand with them and fight for them.
I mean, the legal process is slow, and I understand it, and it's frustrating sometimes because it is scary to be in court. I mean, I'm used to it, so and I know the people, I know the referees, so it's not that big of a deal. But most people don't have contact with the court system or have limited contact with the court system. Landlord-tenant issues are civil matters, so it's a different court. It's not the usual one where you see in Law and Order, which is a criminal court.
Right.
It's just a different system, and it is scary to walk into the courtroom, be it over Zoom or in person, and have to say what the problem is and ask for an evidentiary hearing or ask for a trial. But we explain the process. Obviously, the landlord-tenant bar in Minnesota is very small, so there's not an attorney for everyone. But the process is, because it's civil, representing yourself, it's very easy. And so once you have your arguments, which we provide that, and you provide the evidence, which we tell you when to bring, and you can send us the documents too to make sure that what you submitted in court and the evidence you have is good.
Right.
You know, you can win. People win. People are successful in these cases.
I think that's important. It's always easier if you have someone like yourself with a law degree next to you, but if you can't do it, it's nice to know that you've had somebody coaching you until you get to the opportunity to represent yourself. And
it is, I mean, one of my favorite things is when there's a repair issue and a tenant sends me an email and says, the landlord fixed the problem. When I went to court, the judge listened, or the referee listened, and the landlord listened, and the problem is being fixed. Or when they don't even have to get to court, when they just talk to the landlord and say, hey, this is a problem, you have to fix it, this is what the law says. Landlords don't want to be in court. It's expensive. So they go ahead and fix the problem. And I think one of the key aspects is there is a little bit of an adversarial relationship sometimes between the tenant and the landlord. And breaking that, it's one of my favorite things. Teaching tenants how to navigate the discomfort they feel with landlords to get the necessary repairs or the issues that they have resolved.
I think that's important.
Yeah, it is. It is extremely important. And I understand why the relationship can be adversarial. You know, not everyone has good customer service. There's not a customer service class out there.
That's true. That's very true. Now, you talked about being out in the community as well as doing webinars, going into schools, providing advocacy and advice on the hotline. Let's talk a little bit about what that looks like when you guys are out in the community.
Okay.
For somebody like me that is an English speaker, you guys have services for people that are not in multiple languages, as well as providing language support during some of your other in-person situations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So we have the English hotline, and then we also have a Spanish, a Somali, and Hmong hotline. Out of the language hotlines, not English language hotlines, the Spanish one is the one that's the busiest. I would like the Somali and Hmong line to become busier. I know that culturally there's just sort of a need for it to be more hands-on, and we're trying to bridge that gap, but it's improving. We have our Somali speaker going out into the community and talking about the hotline, and she can do a little bit more, helping fill out forms. She does a lot of organizing, so she is well known around the community. And our Hmong, we have 2 Hmong speakers. They're legislators in Minneapolis. Which is also super exciting.
Right,
because,
I'm like, that's a very cool connection to
have. So they, you know, and they've been renters. I think that's a key thing in our office. I think everyone has been a renter at some point or another. And our our organizer, Reagan, for example, has had to sue a landlord before. So there is the experience. We can really talk to people and relate to them because we've lived it. And we can do it in their language.
I think there's a big power in that to say, hey, we understand where you've been because we too have had to do this.
And, you know, if one of the language lines doesn't fit the language you speak, that's fine. Send us an email. Use Google Translate. It might not be perfect, but there's always a way. You can also go to, if you have a social worker or there's an organization in the community that can assist you in translating the emails, it really makes it work. And we can also set up 3-way calls with someone who speaks English and the tenant itself so that we can communicate and figure out how to handle the situation. We also refer people to other organizations in the area. If we think that you will qualify for services from, say, Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid or Volunteer Lawyers Network or Adult Representation Services, we will refer you to them.
So talk to me about what's next for Homeline Minnesota.
Oh, God. I guess in my dream world, we would expand, more staff, perhaps more of an ability to help tenants more directly. And I don't know, the sky's the limit, right? We have a beautiful office in Bloomington that I know the organizers are very much taken advantage of because they do trainings in there. And I think it's just continuing to get the support from the state and organizations, both inside and outside of Minnesota, to continue the service because tenants do need assistance. It can't just be hire an attorney. You know, hiring an attorney can cost you, you know, $1,500, $3,000. If you are facing an eviction, you really don't have the money.
Yeah, I don't have that just lying around to spend for an attorney.
So, and another thing I think in my dream world, it would be to get more volunteers because volunteers talk to the community. They talk about the services and it really expands the knowledge of what landlord-tenant law is in Minnesota. And it teaches people that you can stand up for your rights and your responsibilities as a tenant.
Let viewers know how they can stay connected to the work of Homeline Minnesota and what's the number for the hotline if they wish to call in.
Absolutely. So the hotline's number is 612-728-5767. You can go to our website, homelinemn.org, and in the top right corner of the webpage, you will see the email an attorney feature. Just click it and you can send us an email, attach the documents, really explain what the situation is. Yeah, I mean, we don't take walk-ins right now. After COVID, we had to stop that because people got sick.
That's very important. That's very important. So please make sure you are utilizing the phone number and or the website. Please do not try to attempt to come to the building.
Sometimes if there's paperwork that needs to be filled out or documents that needs to be dropped off, people do come to the office and drop them off. But we really don't have the staff there right now to be able to do face-to-face contact.
Understand.
I, for example, have had COVID 3 times already. Every time I do something in the community, I tend to get sick. I still do it.
Okay.
But it's, you know, it's just a reality of our world right now, and it is sad, but we adjust.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Please make sure that you guys have social media at all?
We do. We have Twitter, we have YouTube, and I believe we have Facebook too.
Let us know the usernames, please.
It's HomelineMN.
Okay.
And, you know, Twitter is pretty active. I know that they post whenever we're having webinars or any trainings. They're posted there. You can also go to our website and just watch the videos. We just did a very good one on Lisa's this week. Or last week.
Okay.
And there's another one coming up on mobile homes.
Okay.
That's another thing. Mobile homes, we cover mobile homes.
Okay. That's
so
important. I know a lot of people transitioned from a brick and mortar house to, I guess, a more mobile version of living.
Or people who rent and then for their first house is a mobile home, and so, but you're still renting the lot. And so there's very specific law that addresses mobile homes. And we can help with that.
That's important to note. Amma, thank you for joining me today on this special episode of Community Connections and informing viewers about not only the work that you guys are doing, but also their rights, and letting them know that there is more power in their hands than there isn't.
That's true. It was a pleasure being here, and please, guys, call us at Homeline 612-728-5767.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
A very special thank you to Amma and the amazing team at Homeland Minnesota for joining me today on this episode of Community Connections. As always, I am your host, Anna Orr, and I look forward to connecting again with you soon.